Welcome to the Personal Brand Era podcast. I'm your host, Ella Ray, and I'm excited to talk to Valerie McTavish today. She's a video marketing and confidence coach. Hey, Valerie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Lovely to be here with you.
Awesome. I would love to start our interview with a uh, question that all listeners will have in their heads. How did you get started being a video marketing and confidence coach? What motivated you to go into this direction and not any other coaching niche?
Well, it would seem like an obvious choice because I did a communications degree and then immediately after university moved into working in television and video production, advertising, even radio. So I've been in the communications field for a really long time and was working in content marketing. So it would seem like a natural fit that I would become a video coach, but it actually took a few turns because even though I had all of this background, I was spending a lot of time helping people just build their online business and apply digital marketing in that way. And it wasn't until someone pointed out to me that I was avoiding utilizing this background and this expertise that I had 30 years of experience that I wasn't using to its full advantage, that I realized the main reason is because I didn't want to get on camera. I didn't want to do the thing that I help other people do. I didn't want to have to teach. And I knew that if I was a video coach and I focused on video, there was no way to avoid being on camera. So there it is. That's how I ended up here, because that revelation made me realize that if it's this hard for me to get on camera for my business, even though I've broadcast live nationally, I've, helped produce hundreds, thousands of hours of television, helped other people get comfortable on camera. If it was this hard for me to do it, how hard would it be for someone who hasn't done video at all, or their experience of video is doing Zoom? So that's when
Exactly.
I realized that I had to kind of figure a way to get past my hangups and then use that to help other people get past it so that they can take advantage of this amazing medium that really allows us to connect with people in a unique way.
Yeah, and it is, I feel, the most intimate medium that we can use to actually connect with other people. And can you tell me a bit more about why you had such a hang up on being on camera? It would be kind of counterintuitive based on your past, right?
Absolutely. I was surprised by it too, because it really took a little bit of digging for me to realize why I was avoiding it. And what it comes down to is I really think this is going to resonate with a lot of people because I know after working with so many female entrepreneurs that this is the crux of it. So for me, the biggest thing was a fear of judgment. That was the biggest thing. The second was perfectionism, right? I was getting in my own way and it was causing me to procrastinate and put things off because I wanted things to be perfect. And especially around this idea that if you're going to be a video coach, right? People are going to judge you on how great your video looks or, how you communicate, that you never say or ah or stumble, that you have to be perfect. And so it took me a long time to get over that, which I did, thank goodness. And then the last piece of it was really just feeling like it was a vulnerable move, that I was going to be out there and exposed. And it just felt uncomfortable. So typical stuff, right? Maybe I can see you nodding your head. Maybe you understand this. Maybe you felt these things too. I know when I talk to female entrepreneurs that those are the key things that hold them back from showing up on video for their business. And there's one other thing, which luckily I didn't have, which was just the technology, right? And not knowing where to start in getting comfortable and having the equipment and being able to use the equipment properly. So those were the key things that I was able to kind of build into how I help people get past the video resistance, as I call it.
Exactly. Yeah, you nailed it on the head, so to speak. When you said, "I'm nodding my head because I can relate." Obviously, yes. I've been a singer ever since I was a child, but when it came to speaking and being very confident in every situation, and not just the confidence, because I built a skill, and we will talk about that, brought actually or revealed something in me that I was completely not confident in front of a camera. It was a huge blockage inside of myself when I started my coaching or my consulting business, right? Getting in front of a camera, it feels stupid to talk to a camera, right? Like you need to gain a different type of skill compared to being in front of people. And I think this is also the key moment to understand that when you are talking to people right in front of you, you get a reaction right away. Even if you get no reaction, it's still a reaction, right? So we as people, we are so wired to reading other people. We are so in need of a reaction of other people, because that's how we position ourselves in the society and everywhere, and kind of see, oh, did we say something wrong? Did we hurt anyone? Or especially we as women, I feel. And when you are in front of a camera, you have no reaction whatsoever. So you cannot attune or you cannot adjust to that, right? So you have to kind of roll with your strategy that you have in your mind. And only after you have posted the video, you will actually see the reaction. And the worst thing that can happen to us is if we get no reaction at all, because that doesn't give any feedback to us. So we are kind of in the empty space, right, alone again. So I think this is
It's
also a
vulnerable. We're
moment.
vulnerable. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
right. Exactly. And you know what, Ellett, I've heard this. I work with a lot of speakers, and it catches them so off guard that they're uncomfortable on camera because they're so comfortable in front of thousands of people. But it's exactly what you said. You miss the feedback of energy. You miss the reaction, and it's uncomfortable to talk to a little tiny camera, right? Because you don't have that response. And this is when we trip into that imposter syndrome, where we feel like we're doing something we're not supposed to be doing. When you're on stage, someone's invited you to come up and sing. When a speaker's on stage, someone's invited them. The audience has shown up to see you sing or to hear them speak. So there's an agreement there. But when you're on camera, there's no agreement. And so it definitely puts us in that position of feeling vulnerable, and that imposter syndrome comes up.
1 second, I have to turn off um, my box. I find it very interesting what you just said. We have an agreement in the moment where we are invited as a speaker or as a singer on stage. But in front of a camera, we don't have that permission. I could also call that permission. So I think that's where also the imposter syndrome comes in. Who gave me permission to record this video? Nobody did, right? And we're kind of waiting for whatever reason for someone to allow us to record a video, right? And we have a couple of concepts that we need to talk about in this interview. And I would like to unpack confidence first, because that's kind of a building block that is also part of your coaching, a very big one. All right, so let's talk about what confidence really is, because I feel people don't really understand what it is. They're just throwing around this word without really knowing what it is and how to acquire it.
You know, there's a huge misunderstanding about confidence. There's two actually. There's two misunderstandings. The first is that confidence is a finite thing, that it is this existing thing that you either have or don't have, and that is just not true. Confidence ebbs and flows. Some days we have it, sometimes we have a lot of it, sometimes we have a little bit, some days we just have none, right? And so it's not something that you can count on. It's not like, you put your shirt on and your shirt is on your body. No, confidence is something that we have to work towards all the time. The other misunderstanding about confidence is that we believe that it is something that we can see, I've lost my confidence because I lost my train of thought there. So let me just go after that again. The second thing about confidence that we have to recognize is that we have to work at it, right? It's part of any tool that you have as an entrepreneur. You can learn how to get it, but then you also have to have tools to regain it and tap into it and work with it. So this is where having some mindset tools is really, really important. And we often think that we need to start with confidence when it comes to getting on video. We think, okay, I don't have the confidence to get on video, so the first thing I need to do is go out and get some confidence. Like, wouldn't it be great if there was a shop where you could just go and like browse the aisles and be like, I'll have medium-sized confidence today. Thank you very much. And I'll take some video confidence, and maybe over here I'll take some on-stage confidence, and maybe I'll have some confidence in my offer and just go shopping for confidence, right? Wouldn't that be awesome? But the thing is that confidence doesn't work like that. And we don't necessarily get to just go and get confidence. We have to build it. And the way to build it is through that clarity piece, right? And the clarity is what helps you build that confidence. The clarity is what helps you understand that contract that we talked about between you and your viewer, and the permission that you need to show up, and what's going to help you get past that vulnerability. When you're clear about why you're in business, who you help, and what they need from you, that problem that they have that you solve, that how that problem feels to them, and the pieces that they need to start to feel like they can solve that problem with you. When you are clear on all of those things, it's a heck of a lot easier to tap into that confidence versus just thinking of confidence as this thing that you're just going to trigger with a meditation or an affirmation.
And where do you see the difference between confidence and core confidence? Did you ever hear about that concept?
Yeah, so I think core confidence is that piece of confidence that's always with us. And it's one of those things that we can build up even if we weren't born with it, but some people are born with it, right? Some people have that built into their personality. So it's a little bit easier for them. However, it is something you can build up as a core confidence. And that comes from things like practice, right? Think about riding a bike. The first time you got on a bike, you didn't know how to ride it. You maybe saw other people riding it. You knew you wanted to ride it. You knew the basic principles of riding the bike. So you had some knowledge, so a little bit of confidence that you were going to be able to learn how to do this. Maybe you had a cheerleader there, one of your parents or a bigger sibling who was there to help, to support you. So that gave you a little bit more confidence. But the only way you can develop core confidence in riding a bike is to ride it over and over, and frankly fall down a couple of times and realize that you're going to survive it and get back on and ride and ride and ride and ride and ride until, like the cliche says, it's like riding a bike, you never forget. That's that core confidence in riding a bike, because you've done it so many times that you know, even if it's been 10 years since you got on a bike, you're going to be able to get back on, maybe a little wobbly, but you're going to be able to ride that bike. You don't have to learn all over again. And when it comes to being an entrepreneur and getting on video, it's the same thing, right? We can develop that core confidence for showing up on video by doing it over and over and over, and getting up when we fall down and scrape our knee on video, when we stumble and we make mistakes, or we put a video out and it gets no reaction, just continuing on to learn and get better and build up that core confidence.
And I believe there are multiple layers when it comes to confidence. You can have, and self-esteem is also another concept that comes even prior to confidence or core confidence, because you kind of have to have that developed basically by your parents. You cannot develop it by yourself. At least that's what I believe. Because as a baby, you cannot have the core confidence or confidence in itself. Someone needs to teach you how to trust yourself, because confidence comes from the Latin word, right? And believe, and means full trust in either yourself or something or someone, right? It can be a material thing, it can be a human or a living thing that you trust. So there are multiple layers to confidence. You can have the confidence in a particular skill, right? Just like you described in the skill of riding a bike, for example. So you're building a focused, a laser focused skill, and that's why you develop the confidence. You trust yourself that you can ride the bike, right? But once you, for example, try to do surfing, you might not have confidence once again, because that you only develop the skill for one particular area, right? And I think this is also a misconception that many people have about confidence, that it is like a universal thing. Oh, confidence, that's just one concept. If I get it, I have it, right? In all areas of life. But you actually don't. You develop confidence in different layers, in different areas of your life, and even with yourself and with people. And when we talk about video, we talk about confidence that you need to have first and foremost for yourself. You need to trust yourself. You need to trust your voice, right? That it does not crack, that it is healthy, that you know what you're talking about. So your brain also works properly, right? The way you intended to work. You need to trust your body, that your body is not all of a sudden doing weird things and you're flashing around with your hands uncontrollably, right? You need to trust your body. You need to have kind of a routine, a strategy behind what you're doing in front of a camera, right? And then you also need to trust the technical part, right? You need to trust your camera that it will still be on, that the battery is filled, all that stuff. You need to have a multi-layered trust and confidence built into this thing called video or video marketing, right? And it takes, as you said, it is a muscle. You need to train that. You need to do it every day until you can trust it fully. And until you can trust it fully, it's not confidence. It's just you trying, right? You
Yeah,
being bad and getting better every time. So you need to come to a point where you can trust yourself fully, and you can trust the technical part of it fully, right? And still, something can go wrong. Electricity can go off. You cannot control that, right? Your kid can run into the room and destroy your whole video intentions that you had, right? Anything can happen, right? And still, you need to have confidence to guide yourself out of the situation and meet this obstacle gracefully, right?
absolutely. And the other piece, and I love how you frame that, because we do think that confidence is this one entity, this end all be all, that if you have it, you have it, and if you don't, but you're right, there's all these pieces of confidence along the way. And one that you missed is you need to have confidence that this is even going to work. That
Yeah.
all of this learning, all of these pieces of confidence that you're puzzling together to build up enough confidence to get on camera on a regular basis, you need to trust that it's going to get you the results that you're looking for in your business. You need to trust that it's all going to be worth it. So that's another big piece that sometimes is the last piece that falls off and stops people from getting on camera. So, but I think you're absolutely right. It's a process. We all have to think of it as a process. We all have to have a reason and a belief that there's going to be a good result at the end. And we have to keep moving forward and tap into that resilience. And, I think what you said about you can be confident riding a bike, but then learning how to surf is an entirely different thing. I think what's important though, and this is one of the techniques that I teach with mindset, is you can always tap into the belief and the trust in your ability to learn. So even though riding a bike is nothing like riding a surfboard, you can find that thread between the two, which is I'm capable and able enough to learn a new skill. I'm capable and able enough to try. And that piece, right, is so important when we jump into learning how to do video, because that's the only way to get things done.
And when we talk about this multi-layered thing, I think that's where procrastination comes in, or this perfectionism. Because um, if you kind of are aware, and most people who try video become aware of all these layers. Oh my God, I didn't think it would be so complicated. I thought I just need to press record and then I have a video, but no. You have to kind of export the video afterwards. You have to edit, you have to prepare it, you have to make sure it's on the right platform, right format, right size, and all that stuff that comes with it, right? And then people start to procrastinate because it is such a humongous thing that they need to master, and they think they need to be perfect in every step of the way, right? Which obviously they don't have to be. They just have to recognize whatever obstacle is in front of them and just meet each and every obstacle each at a time, right? One at a time, and try to solve each problem until they can master it in the end and fully trust the process right? And I would love to hear, also for my listeners, they are burning, I'm sure right now, to hear how you go through that type of process when you have a client and you notice they have low self-esteem, they have absolutely no confidence, maybe they have even vocal problems that are, again, standing even more in the way of getting things done. What is the process that you take a client through to actually have them in the end confidently standing in front of the camera and really delivering amazing stuff?
Right. Well, I'll tell you what we don't do. We don't put people in front of a camera and let them sit in the discomfort. Let them make all of those mistakes. The first thing that we do before we even get on camera is we build that clarity piece, right? Because it is going to be the thing that you can tap into that makes all the learning worthwhile, that makes all those layers of confidence easier to navigate. So that's where we start. We start with, why are you doing video? What are you trying to accomplish with your business? What is the big goal and how's video going to serve it? Who are you here to serve? Who's going to consume these videos? Why does it matter to you that you show up for them? Right? Tap into that feeling of the problem that they have that you know how to solve. Tap into what they're going through. Remember that these videos aren't about you. They're for your ideal customer, right? Trigger that paradigm shift so you stop thinking about, well, how do I look? How am I communicating? And start thinking about, what does my viewer need to see? What do they need to learn? What do they need to hear from me in order to understand that I'm the person that can help them, or that my product is the right product for them, right? So that is a really important paradigm shift, focusing on your target audience and then creating a strategy. So often we jump in, we're all over the place. We're like, oh, lots of people are doing TikTok, I'm going to go do TikTok. Oh, lots of people are doing Reels, I'm going to go do Reels. Oh, someone told me I had to show up every day for 30 days, so I'm going to go do that. Oh, we got to do some lives. And I learned how to do this thing on Canva, so I'm going to do a bunch of graphic videos. That is not a strategy, right? That is just you dabbling, which, learning is always good and trying is always good. But when you want to get confident, you need the piece that says, I know for certain, because I have thought this through and strategically created a plan that recognizes what my goal is, who I serve, how they consume videos, where they consume videos, what kinds of videos they consume. And I've created a plan that incorporates all of those things. The next piece, so that's the foundation, right? That's the clarity piece. Then we're in a position to start thinking about, what is the core message that I want to share? What is my position? What's my unique way of sharing information? And that's where you start to develop your own messaging. That's where you start to be able to stand out from the crowd, because you're creating a message that is uniquely you, that is going to, be resonating with your target audience. Then we deal with the tech. And I always start with the lowest common denominator, right? These days, everyone's comfortable on Zoom now. Almost everyone's comfortable on Zoom now. We all have webcams or phones with cameras. We have the technology we need. We don't need the fancy microphones and the fancy cameras and the fancy lights and all that sort of stuff. You need a smartphone, and you need to be close enough for people to hear you, and you need enough light for people to see you. Start there, right? Then we deal with the mindset piece, which is, we have some tools and things to help people over those last little hurdles that are holding them back. And that's the core confidence that you talked about, right? Building up and practicing and getting comfortable with sharing your message in an effective way. Of course, we can't stop there, because the real results come from the consistency. Showing up on a regular basis, following your plan. And that means, it's going to take some time. Set aside and create a plan for producing all of these videos, right? Like you do, right? Have a day where you shoot all your videos. Do that in a consistent way, and it's going to be a lot easier for you to be able to publish them consistently. And then you want to have that content calendar so that you are publishing on a regular basis. You know what's coming. You are following your strategy of not always having videos that are like sell, 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 right? We want some videos that serve. We want some videos that help people become aware of you. We want some videos that help people connect with you on a deeper level and engage with you. So those all have to be fit into your content calendar. And then you want to publish them and optimize for the platform you're publishing on, because as we've all seen, right? TikTok videos showing up on Reels and portrait videos showing up on YouTube landscape. We want to make sure that we are repurposing our videos for sure, because that's a good strategy, but doing it in a way that still fits the platform that you're sharing on. And then finally, the last piece of consistency is to step back and look at what's happening, right? That's what you were saying before. Step back and do the hard thing of like, oh, nobody engaged with this video. Nobody watched this video. Why? What was it about it? How far into the video did they stop watching? Are my videos too long? Are they too short? Are they missing information? Am I not showing up authentically, right? That's where we get to start to learn how to, if I can use the bike analogy again, now we're starting to learn how we can pop a wheelie, right? Now we're starting to learn how we can race up a hill. Because when we look at the things that we're challenged by, that's where we know that we have to put our attention and grow and change and shift and tweak. And that's how you get video confident. And that's what I help people do.
I really love what you just said about how you actually transform people's fear of judgment and fear of the camera by actually, and that's very smart, increasing the desire to help. Because coaches normally, and let's talk about coaches singularly, have a strong desire innately built into themselves to help people. And by reminding them and creating that type of clarity that you talked about, you are kind of increasing the desire to actually help, and that decreases the fear of judgment, imposter, perfectionism, and all that stuff, because they want to help. And what else will that do is it increases also their natural appearance, so to speak, like the natural performance of a person. Because when you increase the desire, they innately activate, so to speak, their very authentic self. So they show up authentically, right? There's not like you teach them some weird strategy that they have to practice neatly, that they might feel uncomfortable with. But what I love about your strategy is that you make them feel comfortable first by increasing the desire, and at the same time reducing all that fear and all that thing that has to do with them. They kind of forget about that it's about them, right? And they refocus, so to speak, on the real target as a coach, right? The service, the part of the service. And that is a beautiful approach.
Thank
Another
you. Yeah,
approach.
I was just going to say, we so often make it about us, and we take things personally. It's hard not to, but the reality is it's not personal. You're showing up to serve someone, and not everyone is going to need what you have at that moment, right? It's like when you're in a marathon and there's a water table, right? Sometimes you need the water. You stop and it's exactly what you need. And sometimes you're good. You don't need that water and you run by. Can you imagine if the person who was like standing at the water table took that personally? It's crazy,
Yeah.
right? They're there to pour the water in the cups and make sure it's accessible to you. That's what they're there to do. And so think about that when you show up to do your videos. Sure, there may be no one who wants your water that day, but they're glad it was there. They were glad they didn't need it and they could run by. And the next time they see water, they're going to need it. Right?
That's a very beautiful analogy. And another way to also help people, and that's kind of my approach, how I try to help them, not only find the clarity into redefining or defining, if they didn't before, why they're doing it and who are they serving and all that stuff, but also at the same time build the empathy towards yourself, right? Kind of understanding yourself. And this is also self-care, by the way, something that almost nobody is talking about online. All the ladies talk about doing your nails and hair, and that's self-care, and taking a bath and sauna and here and there. But like on the deeper level, self-care is having empathy for yourself, kind of realizing, and that is deeply connected with fear of judgment. So what if you post a video and someone said to you, oh, you're talking like a robot, like someone did when I started my podcast, right? And English is not my first language. And my main intent was to practice speaking in English, right? And just getting back into the arena of a speaker, right? Which I was before I had my kids, right? When you're raising kids, your language like drops. The level of language that you have, right? Like boo boo gaga, that's all you do all day long, you know? So my main intent to start the podcast was actually to practice again, to speak again, and to kind of practice English because it's not my first language, and to kind of improve my abilities and my skills. So I was completely fine with anybody coming in and telling me, hey, that sounds weird, you know? And I had enough empathy for myself because I knew that I had flaws, and I was completely fine showing those flaws. And that also helps other people. If they see me make mistakes, they will be more fine also making mistakes, because the moment I appear or show up perfect or seem perfect, it makes it so hard for other people to show up at all, right? I figured that out very early on when I started online 4 years ago, where I noticed as soon as I show up perfect, or full makeup, dressed up, and all that, which I enjoy very much, I noticed people have a hard time at all watching the videos because they start to compare, they start to feel bad. And I didn't want that. Why would I want that? Especially if I work with women. I don't want that. There's no competition, you know? That's why
You
it
know,
is great to actually show up how you are, as natural as you are. And it helps me so much be who I am, as authentic as I am, with all my flaws, and I have empathy for myself because I know my mistakes. Why would I hide them? Right? If I know my
absolutely.
mistakes,
Yes.
I can share them. And the right people, you know, the right people will not judge me. That's the point. If you fear the judgment, it is not the right people for you. The right people will celebrate you even if you do mistakes, and they will tell you how amazing you are, and maybe they will tell you what you need to work on, but they will do it privately. They will not openly kind of burn you, you know, in the fire. They will be a good friend and tell you in private, right?
Oh, it's so good that you use the word friend, because this is exactly the thing we have to remember when we're doing videos. We're building a relationship. That's what we're trying to do with videos. We're helping people understand who we are, how we can help them, and why we would be the right choice for them. They're going to be people who you're not the right choice for, and that's okay. But you want to attract the people who are going to see you for who you really are, right? When we show up and we're all polished and our videos are perfect because we've done 25 takes and we've edited it and we've, put filters on and we've done all these things. And then people show up to work with us and they're surprised that we're not perfect. Well, of course they're going to be let down, right? In a relationship, you want to show up the way you truly are so that people can choose if you're the right person to work with. And, what you said about who wants to be around someone who's perfect is so true. When we think about our friends, what we love about our friends is that we love them for all their faults,
Yeah.
right? If they showed up for coffee every single time, or if every time we had a glass of wine with them, they were like, oh, yes, my kids are perfect. My husband's perfect. My hair is perfect. My job is perfect. I'm making so much money. My house just got redecorated. You'd be like, okay, sorry, I'm booked for the rest of my life. I can't see you again. Right? Like nobody wants to deal with that because it's unrelatable.
Yeah.
All have faults. And when we are able to share those and show up authentically as ourselves, people will see us for who we really are. And then our videos are going to be a lot more effective.
And it is also unrealistic if we think about even people like very wealthy people. If I think about, let's say, Grant Cardone and Elena Cardone, right now they are blowing up on social media and they are showing up most of the time at their best self because that's their brand archetype, right? I understand that, right? They need to show up in this way to build trust. And when I teach my clients, it's all about trust. Everything that you do is meant to build trust. If you want to use brand colors, you better use those that build trust based on your brand archetype. So everything is about trust. I fully agree with what you say about friends. And when you see a person who is perfect all the time, or who just show, and it's not even the perfect side, but it's the positive side. If you always hear someone talk about only the positive things in their lives, you kind of distrust them, because it's not realistic that everything is positive. Grant and Elena, they do have fights, and it's so good that they also show that in a graceful way, right? Also on social media. And that builds trust again with their tribe and with their community, because then they see, oh, they're not all that perfect, right? Elena sometimes also appears without makeup, right? You see the true Elena, right? And sometimes she appears all on stage like a candy, right? Beautiful, gorgeous, right? And so she builds trust on both lanes, so to speak. She can be
Right.
polished, but she can also be very authentic, very true and natural. And that's where we connect on different levels. And I think people miss that. You can be all
Uh,
polished, but you also need to find a way to feel comfortable, to show your natural, your most authentic, maybe your crazy side, your funny side, your quirky side, your nerdy side, whatever side you have. Like that builds so much connection with people.
Absolutely. It's that thing that's only you, right? And you can't get to that if you're stuck on that polished surface, right? We need to go deeper, and we need to allow people in deeper if we want them to trust us, if we want them to feel like they really know us, right? Not just recognize us, but know us.
Oh, you said something important. The recognition is so important. It is not only the know, like, and trust factor, it is actually the recognition first. You have to recognize and you have to remember someone. How are you going to remember someone who has done a video if there's nothing particular, nothing unique about that person? And let's say it's a woman, it's a coach, and she looks like everybody else, right? She dresses like everybody else, she talks like everybody else, she moves like everybody else, and she doesn't give any kind of unique vibe about herself, right? Nothing personal is in the video, right? Background all white, she's in all white, nothing stands out, right? How are you going to remember a person like that? Like, it's interesting that you can create recognition by multiple brand assets that you can build, right? And that only appears in the video, right? That's the most interesting part about this, is that you build a personal brand the best when you actually appear on video, because the brand assets that are the most important to build trust can only be seen in video. So your work is so important for people to understand. That they need to wrap around their head around the importance of video, right? Especially when they intend to build a personal brand or become leaders in their niches. It needs to be done in a way that they feel comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, when they recognize the value of video and they know that they should be doing it, and I talk to so many people who are at that precipice, they're like, I know I should do it, but I just can't jump. Start with the clarity. Get that clarity, and that will help you start to build the confidence. Then build the confidence up and start showing up consistently. And you're going to see that it gets easier and you get better and you can show up more as yourself. And people are going to start to respond to what you're doing.
And the interesting part is that people don't even have to release the video that they have recorded. If the fear is like 100% top here, they are shaking and everything, they cannot get a word out. The point is just to record a video. Nobody said about anything about posting it, right? You just start recording it. You record your first video, then you rewatch it, right? Just get comfortable seeing yourself on camera and get comfortable with the flow of things, right? Record 10 videos, don't post it, right? That's also a strategy if your fear is like up here, right? You just can't move, right? That's also possible, right? And once you get comfortable with, oh, I'm okay, I'm okay seeing myself. It's weird, but I know I have to serve and I want to serve, right? I'm fired up to help people. Then you post the first video, or you record
Yeah.
your 11th video, and that's the one that you post. And maybe you post it not to everybody if you fear judgment. Post it to someone you trust, where people will give you positive feedback first,
Yeah.
right? Because you
Yeah.
need that. You need that soul food. You can't live without it. Uh,
Yeah, I'll share a quick story with you on that idea because it definitely can be a bit of a problem where people procrastinate putting things out, even though they've done them and they just collect, as I say, digital dust collecting on these videos. So I have this strategy, two strategies. One is we have, in my program, we have a group. And so people are posting in the group and getting used to feedback, getting used to in a sort of a safe space that makes them feel a little bit more comfortable. I had this one client who was just like prolific in creating the videos, but couldn't put them out. She was just terrified of that fear of judgment. She
wow.
just did not want to deal with it. So what we did instead was I said, well, how about if you only show the video to people who already know you and you already know they like you? So we created this program where people could sign up for her email in order to access her videos. And that was the dam that broke, because once she was able to accept other people seeing her videos, once she started to get really great feedback, once she saw the impact that her videos were having, it made it a little bit easier for her to take that next step of sharing her videos just to her followers on social media. And then the next step of sharing them publicly. And then the next step of starting a YouTube channel, which is huge.
Yeah.
So we can do it in baby steps. We don't have to jump all in. We don't have to have 100% confidence. We just have to have enough confidence to take the next step.
Oh, I love that one. And you mentioned before different types of videos depending on the objective that we sometimes have. And I think that's also something, not just, oh, I recorded a video, I posted it, check, right? And you talked about the strategy, and that's also something that you teach, right? And it's really important for people to understand, not just do random things, but really think about a strategy behind the things. So let's talk about the different video types based on the objective. And I'm thinking objective in terms of increasing reach or visibility, or video types to increase engagement. You would need to do different things, right, with video, and also video to increase conversions.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I talk about this from the perspective of the customer journey, right? They realize they have a problem, some sort of trigger event, then they start to look for solutions to that problem. This is when they're going to become aware of you. Once they become aware of you, you need to build that relationship with them, and that's when you want them to start to engage with you. Once they've engaged with you on a certain level, you want them to connect with you, and once they connect with you, then they'll buy from you. So that customer journey can be long, it can be short. It really depends on the urgency of their problem. But video can serve to get them from one step to the next, right? So you should have in your strategy, you should have videos that help people become aware of you, right? These are going to be videos on your website. These are going to be evergreen videos on your YouTube channel, things that you reshare regularly on your social media, which are just about, hey, I know you have this problem. I'm this person who helps people with that problem. Learn more about your problem, right? Just straight up awareness. Then you're going to have the engagement videos, right? Which is going to invite them to have a conversation with you. And this is what social media is so great for. Videos on social media are really great for engagement. And you want to be where your ideal customer is. So pick the social media platform where your ideal customer is hanging out and do videos they're more likely to engage with. Then the next two types of videos are about connecting, which is when you're going to, invite them to a discovery call, or you're going to invite them to join your email list, download a lead magnet, something like that. Those videos are the call to action at the end of those videos is to download the video, to book a call. Then you have your sales videos, right? And this, unfortunately, is where a lot of people go straight to. They're like, okay, well, I'm in business. I need to sell stuff. So I'm just going to do product videos. I'm just going to talk about my service. I'm just going to tell people to buy. And it's too soon, right? Just like in a real relationship in the real world, you can't walk up to someone in the bar and be like, hey, do you want to get married? Do you want to go home and go to bed? Right?
Would
Like,
only
what?
work with 3% of the
Right.
population.
Right. But most people are going to be like, you're a crazy person. I
Yeah,
don't even know you.
yeah.
So what you want to do is replicate that normal relationship that you have within the real world, which is, hey, I know you. you know a friend of mine, we know each other, I've seen you in places. Oh, we've had some conversations, we've had small talk. Oh, we've had a deeper conversation. Hey, let me get your number, let's get together for a coffee. Oh, I really enjoyed having this coffee, let's hang out, let's be friends. Right? That's how relationships progress. We do the same with video. We do the same with our customers. So having that strategy in place and having a selection of videos at every stage of that customer journey is so important. And being clear on what that intention is by communicating it through your call to action. So many people think a call to action is buy now, but that's not it. The call to action can be read my blog, visit my website, learn more with this free resource, engaging questions, take the poll, tell me what you think, right? These are the things that we need to be doing, not just book a call, buy now, book a call, buy now.
And I think there are two reasons why, and you can add more if you think of any, why that could happen, that someone thinks, oh, I need to sell. Either they don't know any better because they are bloody beginners, right? They know nothing about business, and they see maybe gurus do that because they have already a personal brand established, right? They have a lot of trust from their community. So they can come out and more than often say, hey, buy my program, $2,000. And 100 people buy that immediately, right? And they see that and they think, oh, I can do that too, right? And so they start selling right away, like this cold selling, the hard selling. And the other reason could be, and I forgot it.
Real and authentic. That's how
Yeah,
our brains are.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's how they are. If you have separate lanes, different lanes in your brain, all at the same time.
Well, let me respond to why people dive right in and think that they should be doing these salesy videos, right? I find that the reason people do that is because they confuse advertising and marketing. There's a difference, right? So often when we see these gurus do these videos where they're like, buy my $2,000 program, it's because they're spending $1,000 on ads to get enough people to buy those programs, right? They're spending thousands and thousands of dollars. And that's advertising. We grew up with advertising. We see commercials, we see infomercials, and we think that's what videos marketing is. But that's not what it is. Advertising is push marketing, right? You're pushing your message out. Marketing is push and pull. You're creating a relationship. You're creating an opportunity for a conversation. And that's the main difference. So when you think about video marketing, you want to think about what kinds of videos do I need to create that is going to help me develop my relationship with my client. When you think about advertising, where you're paying for people to see your ads, that's when you're thinking about how can I make the most convincing argument in my video for someone to work with me or buy from me.
Absolutely true. And I remember the second one now. It is the urge to actually earn money, right? The simplest of it all, because we all need to put food on the table, right? And if you are in that desperate state, you will tend to make mistakes in your business, and you will tend to push things onto people who don't even need it, right? And you tend to only think about yourself and less about the person that you are approaching. And maybe they are not even ready, not even close, they're not even problem aware, right? And
Yeah.
once you kind of, which is why it's so important to know your avatar, to really dive into your target audience as much as possible. You need to know them better than you know yourself, basically. Because on your everyday procedures of business, you need to always think about the person that you are. Yeah, it is some sort of selling, but it does not have to be the hard selling itself. Hey, buy my stuff, right? It can be, I just show up and I talk, right? I sell myself, my personality. I sell my voice. Let people get comfortable with my voice. Let them build trust with my voice first. Because for people or for customers, it's also multi-level confidence and trust that they need to build in you. right? Just like you need to build trust when you go on video, on camera, right? There are multi-layered um, confidence that you need to build. Clients also need to do the same. And until they have built enough confidence, just like you mentioned, for us to go on camera, only then they will be able to move to the next level, depending on where they were before. So you need to you need to give them space to actually build that trust with you, with your body language, right? How are you moving? And some people will absolutely not be comfortable with your body language. They will never buy from you. Accept it. And
Yep.
other people will feel home with you, the way you move, the way you speak, the way what you talk about, right? It's exactly the conversation that's going on in their heads. You are kind of like the train that is picking them up, and you need to be that train, the train that never stops, right? You need to
Yep.
show up like the train on clock,
Yep.
because you know exactly not everybody will get into the train, but most people will if you do things right, and which is what you exactly teach people to do certain
Yep.
things right to get ready for this job.
And you never know when people are on that platform watching the train go by thinking, I'm going to catch that train next time, right? But if that train never comes again, they can't catch that train. So that's where the consistency piece is so critical. So
That's
very well put.
beautiful. Yeah, yeah. Okay. We have talked about so much. Let me see how many questions I had here. Um, oh, I think that's a big piece as well. Many people talk about this storytelling, how you can incorporate storytelling in every piece of your content. But how does that play into video and video marketing?
Well, I'll tell you what, I could talk about this for another hour. But just very quickly, I'll say that storytelling is critical because it is how we built community from very early on in the human race. It's how we connected as a community. It's how we get to know people. And not only that, it also does something in our brain that triggers our memory. And so when we tell stories and when we share information, tell stories, use anecdotes, the brain actually receives that information differently than when you're just talking, which means you're going to be more memorable, which is what you were talking about before, right? That recognition piece. So incorporating stories into your videos is absolutely the best way to supercharge your videos and make sure that those videos resonate and are sticky.
And we need to define story here, I feel, because there's also a lot of misconceptions of what that is. And before we do, I think it's important to mention that a story basically does the following. It has a very, very basic language, which is why people have an easy time remembering it, right? Because most people have an average language level, so to speak, in every language in this world. So if as soon as you go up with your language level, you will have a hard time actually connecting with people. You will only connect with the smartest, most intelligent, and from a language perspective, people, right? Which is a rarity, right, in the world. Most people are on the middle level, right? So you need to drop down your language level and not have the imposter syndrome and think, oh, I will sound stupid. No, you will not. You will exactly connect with them. It's almost like you talk to children. It sounds stupid, but it is very true, because you need to be as simple as possible. Because the moment let's say they're scrolling on Instagram and your video comes, and when you hit them with complicated words, and phrases and language and all that stuff, they will keep scrolling. Like, there is no hook whatsoever. But if
Yeah.
you keep it simple, you will immediately hit them, right? And they will start listening because it's what they understand, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
What can people do to actually find you on social media, and how can they get started working with you?
Yeah, so you're going to find me on Facebook, and you can follow, I post regular videos there. So you can follow me, VM Creative Content. That's on Facebook. And the best place to connect with me is on my website, ValerieMcTavish.com. That's where you can book a free video marketing mapping session so that we can talk about your video strategy. That's a free 30-minute call. And I also have upcoming workshops all the time. I love running workshops. The next one that I have coming up is AI powered video scripts. So, how to use AI to write your video scripts without you sounding like a robot. That's coming up on June 15th, and you'll find that also on ValerieMcTavish.com.
And I will leave all the links in the description for my listeners and viewers. Thank you so much, Valerie. It has been such a lively conversation, and I hope to invite you again to my podcast because I have a million more questions that we need to talk about. And I'm sure my audience is also very curious about it.
Well, I'm happy to come back. You can get me talking about video any old time.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.